Hello, welcome to Tow Business Podcast, a podcast for the towing industry. And I am Jeff, and
I'm Brad.
we are going to be your hosts of the show. And this being the debut show, we decided we were going to first start out by thanking everybody who's been so supported so far.
Absolutely. This has been a work in progress for some time for myself. A couple of years in the making. I had the idea I wanted to do this a couple of years ago and just couldn't get it off the ground due to lack of knowledge or lack of experience and equipment. And then I discovered Jeff's previous podcast and reached out to him and decided to join forces and make this thing happen. So I think it's going to be an awesome partnership, and I'm looking forward to it.
I believe so. I think we've got a pretty good balance going here as far as talent and experience, and I think it's gonna turn out to be a positive thing for the industry. With that said, anybody listening to this, if you would please go to whatever service you're listening to us on, give us a 5-star review. It would really go a long way in helping us get this out there, get it noticed. The more reviews we have, the easier it'll be for more people to find it. So with that said, you could get it on Apple Podcasts. You can go to the webpage itself, towbusinesspodcast.com. There'll be a link there with an embedded player. Google Podcasts, Stitcher, any of the big guys, you can get it there. So please go there, let us know what you think, and leave that 5-star review for us, please. If you do have feedback that you'd like to get to us in another way, we've got a phone number where you can leave a recorded voicemail. That is 802-395-1171. 802-395-1171. We've also got Instagram and a Facebook page by the same name, Tow Business Podcast. So you can reach out to us there also.
Absolutely. Any questions or any struggles you might have finding us, or on every social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just search for us, find us, shoot us a message, shoot us an email, and we'll get back to you and help you listen. So kind of jumping into what this show is and who we are, we have very different backgrounds and very different paths to this industry. So Jeff, why don't you, for anyone who doesn't know you, give a little bit of your background and how you got into this industry and how you want this show to kind of unfold.
Yeah, sure. 1989, fresh out of high school, found myself needing a job. So I went and I tried to apply at a body shop, but by the end of the day, somehow, totally by accident, I end up running a tow truck and towing cars and running road service calls. And the next day, the owner offered me a job as a record driver instead of in his body shop. So that was a sudden turn. I had been working in a body shop all through high school, so to suddenly have my career change like that was kind of a surprise. But here I am, almost 30 years later, still in the industry and love it. Definitely has its challenges, but it is definitely an industry you fall in love with, and a lot of guys like myself have trouble ever getting out. So stayed there in Connecticut working for Breezy Point for a few years after a while, and we ended up moving to the Atlanta, Georgia area, and I worked for a few small companies in the area here. And by 2006, I bought my first carrier. By 2008, I had 2 trucks. In 2001, I actually sold that company and came to work as heavy operator and instructor over at Southside Wrecker. And in 2008, a friend of mine, Bart, and myself decided to go out on a limb and purchase the place. And here we are 11 years later. I've attended all the training I can find. I currently run a 1075 twin steer rotator and all the Rec Master classes, Wes Wilburn, Tom Luciano, SSTA Ultra Heavy, tanker classes, airbag classes, you name it. If it's been available, something I could go to, I have gone to it. Brad?
Awesome. A little bit different path. Graduated college in 2007. went to work for a software company here in Dayton, Ohio for a few months. It was not my gig. Um, the culture was not what I was looking for. So in college, I played baseball, and I met a teammate of mine the first day of class, and he was here locally to Dayton, Ohio as well, and his dad owned a towing company. So through the next 4 years, I got to know the family and kind of how their business worked a little bit. So they had some openings come along, and I joined the company in 2007, and I've been here ever since. Worked my way up through management to ownership, and we've acquired 5 or 6 different companies over the 12 years. So now I'm overcharged of the finances, the marketing, technology. I have gone out on all the wrecks, heavy wrecks in the past, and learned the recovery side of it as well. So not as experienced as Jeff in the towing side of it, but more so in the office side of it, and kind of what makes the business profitable. So that's the strength I bring to the table. That was 2007, 2008 was a tricky time to get into this industry with the economy and the recession. Fuel prices spiked, a lot of people out of work, economy in the tank. So I learned right from the get-go what it takes to be profitable, and what is a necessity and what is not, how to operate pretty lean and cut costs. So looking back, it was tough, but it's probably the best time possible for me to get into this industry, to know how to survive those tough times and what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's probably what we most have in common is starting at that very tough period. And for the first couple of years, man, it was pretty scary being a new business owner, and knowing you had those bills to pay every month, regardless of fuel costs, and whether or not your biggest customer just went belly up and left you with a bankruptcy letter instead of a check. So yeah, I think we came out better because of it. Actually, you learn to survive in the worst conditions, and when things start getting a little better, you're back on top of everything. So when we want to talk about what the show's going to bring, this being the debut show, we just want to run through some of the things we want to bring to the table as a discussion for our industry. And one of those things is, what is the current state of the industry? Brad, what do you think?
The industry is, as a whole, it's okay. It grows every year. All the banking numbers you get every year. Multi-billion-dollar industry across the globe. It's strong, but it's very fragmented. Companies, customers, rates, legislation's very fragmented. It's very different from one state to another. Regulation-wise, I know that Ohio is about to have a full exemption on weight. And that's not every state's like that. You can go across state lines, and all of a sudden, you might get in trouble, get hung up in the scale. So it's very different. But with that said, the industry's strong. I think we're in a very tricky spot in the history of towing. We have a lot of successful first generation towing company owners that are kind of looking to get out and don't have an exit strategy, don't have a succession plan. So I think you're going to see a lot of change in the industry in the next 5-10 years. Maybe second generation owners step up. Maybe if they have kids or somebody coming up through the company to take over, maybe they sell. I think there'll be some consolidation. I think it'll be regional. I don't think it'll be anything like Road One. But I think you'll see some players throughout the country that, start gobbling up some companies and start, making their footprint pretty big throughout whatever region of the country they're in. That we face a very serious challenge right now of safety. Slow down, move over is very real. It's very scary, the numbers behind it. But today, where we are today, it's pretty strong. There's a lot going on. The way we get customers is very different. today than it was 5, especially 10 years ago, with third-party dispatch, roadside motor clubs, fleet management programs, etc. You're not dealing directly with the customers anymore. It all goes through a third party. So you have to be on their list. You have to, be contracted with them. So it's a different. You can still make money. Jeff, what do you think the industry standard is for profitability?
It wouldn't surprise me to know there's companies out there running 3 to 5% at best. Hopefully, it's a little more than that. What you got?
Yeah, absolutely. It's 5 to 8. So 5 to 8 does not give you a lot of room for error. So you have to operate. Nothing can go wrong. Fuel can't spike. Recession can't happen, or you're not going to survive. So, there's people out there that make more than that, but on average, it's 5 to 8. I think we're our own worst enemy to some degree. We accept rates we shouldn't. We, cutthroat and cut our competitors' rates, which all comes full circle and makes us agree to lower rates as well. And, rates are almost going backwards to some degree, while costs are going up.
I believe they are going backwards. I'm aware of a company locally here that just dropped their landall, their transport rates significantly, and I'm just sitting here scratching my head as others around us are increasing, they're decreasing, and I just can't understand the logic behind that. And it's definitely got a ripple effect because it's making it that much harder to get the rates we deserve. And I just don't understand why there's still people out there fighting to be the cheapest.
Yeah, I mean, everything's gone up. Cost of equipment's gone up. Fuel has been fairly steady for the past couple of years, thank goodness. But insurance, which is another topic we'll get to on another day, but insurance is going up. Just everything's going up. So our rates should follow, and I can't understand why they're not. A lot of it has to do with ourselves. We got to look in the mirror. I do a lot of seminars and trainings across the country and talk to a lot of business owners, and I hear it a lot, and it drives me nuts. They say AAA or XYZ Motor Club almost put me out of business. No, they didn't. You almost put yourself out of business because you accepted rates or you ran calls and volume in an area that you shouldn't have. If it's not good for your business, don't do it. Know the numbers. I'm blown away that people don't know their numbers, what it costs for them to open the doors every day, what it costs for them to run an 8-mile tow or a jump start, what their labor costs are. It just blows me away. And if you don't know those numbers, how can you make your prices profitable if you don't know your costs? So that's one thing as an industry we have to get better on. That is one strong point of the industry right now is training. There's training everywhere, whether it be for your drivers, RecMaster, all the heavy duty trainings that go on, everything. There's training everywhere you look.
There's even training for our dispatchers now that has recently become available. And what a fantastic idea to realize that the person answering your phone and greeting your customers, that first impression, what a great idea that we should actually finally start training them and put the value on that position that we do with our operators.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And management wise, there's training. There's great seminars. There's the Tow Summit every year for managers and owners. There's, seminars and trainings at every tow show. There's standalone trainings, consultants. All you have to do is look, and you have to be willing. It's scary if you don't know your costs. It's scary to really dig into it and dig into the unknown of what's going on in your company, but you have to.
So I think it's pretty clear to say that the guys running at these reduced rates, these rates that really don't even support their own operations costs, you got to assume they're throwing out these low rates because they don't know their own costs. So how do we fix that?
I wish I knew, man. I don't know. A lot of them will run themselves out of business eventually. It's very cyclical. The guys that haul for these rates, they come and go. You see them one day and you don't see them another. They put themselves out of business. You can't make them change. I don't know. That's one thing maybe we'll dig into in another episode and get some feedback from people, but I have no idea.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely a problem we're facing, and it's holding us all back. How about future challenges? What do you see coming down the line as far as maybe what technology will bring to our business and maybe make it easier? A lot of people I know argue that technology makes things a lot harder, but it just depends on how you look at it. And there's software, there's everything to dash cameras, digital dispatching. It's all right there in front of us. Most of us are using it. I'm having trouble believing that there is still people taking calls on a scratch pad with a pen and grabbing their phone and trying to relay that information and thinking that's an efficient means of dispatching.
Yeah, just quick disclaimer. If you are not using a dispatch software, please consider it. There's many different types. They all do a great job. They all do some things a little differently than others, but they're affordable. They'll save you countless headaches, let alone money. But you can really get a grasp on what's going on with your company. You can dispatch more efficiently, billing, AR, all that stuff. So if you need help, reach out and we'll point you in the right direction. But for the future, you're going to see more of the same. You're going to see more roadside clubs. You're going to see more. Right now, the motor clubs and some of the towing apps, they're kind of passing customers back and forth. They're getting acquired. Some are jumping ship from one dispatch service to an app, and vice versa. So you're going to see more of that. We can complain all we want, but you might as well suck it up and get involved and figure out how to make it work for your business. I think what you're going to see a little bit of shift. I think the amount of towing is going to go down a little bit overall. You're going to these self-diagnosing cars, a little bit better technology, better warning systems. You're going to see more roadside service calls, cars telling you exactly what's wrong with them. Some of them that can be fixed right there on the side of the road. You're going to see some cool stuff in the future, but you have to adapt and change, and you can't just sit back and wait on the phone to ring the way you used to.
Well, one change I've seen to the road service industry is in Atlanta, we've actually got people driving around in electric vehicles, whether it's a hybrid like a Prius or you've got your Tesla on the road. There's now people driving around with their vehicles all lettered up saying emergency roadside battery charges. So I've got to assume these people are taking a call. Somebody ran out of power somewhere in their Prius and they need to get going again. And I imagine these people are going out and running some sort of jumper cable system between the vehicles, giving them a quick charge to get them going where they're going. I haven't seen that service really come into play with the motor clubs yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, everything's changing. It's going to keep changing. It's a pretty old school blue collar industry, but everything's changing with the times. Equipment's changing. Jeff, I know when you got involved, you probably didn't even have a hydraulic truck.
We had one. We actually had two brand new hydraulics. We were a Miller distributor back then, and we had two hydraulic trucks, but they sat in the garage because the owner, who'd been doing this since I believe probably late 50s, he was so confident with the mechanicals. He had no interest. He had no faith in that the hydraulic equipment doing a better job, and it actually took a couple of jobs that were very challenging to show him and convince him that hydraulics were the way to go. So I actually started in a Home 750 in an old Ford. It was a single axle, and that's where I probably spent my first 6 months to a year was primarily in that truck. And then little by little, as he added more employees, Jeff needed a new truck. So I got to slide into one of the hydraulics, and that was great for me. It made my life a lot easier. So the equipment's becoming a lot more technological. I mean, our rotators now actually run by computers and ECMs. especially if you're running a Raptor remote, anything like that. We have touch screens now. It's crazy, but where else are we going to see new technology come in?
Everywhere. I mean, the way you accept payments. We probably get 60% less checks than we did 5 years ago for things. You get electronic payments, a lot of credit cards, a lot of virtual credit cards. These fleet cards, Voyager cards. Wire payments. Everything's it's going to be different. The one thing. Go ahead.
We've actually got the ability now to take Apple Pay and Samsung Pay and Google Pay in the trucks on the spot, and that has made everybody's life easier. If you're not running a system like that, I mean, think about how many phone calls can be cut out to your dispatchers, how much more efficiently things are, how much quicker your driver can get on to the next call when he can just run a payment, boom, be done with it. Where's my next dispatch? So if you're not looking at something like that along with the digital dispatching, you really need to get serious and start checking into this stuff.
Yeah, you just mentioned digital dispatch. If you do run for motor clubs, you do run for the roadside programs, they're politely kind of forcing you to get digital dispatch. And if you're not, going to be part of that program, then they're not going to send you calls, even if you're cheaper than the guy next door. If that's the way they dispatch now, it's more efficient for them, less manpower, etc. So you're going to have to bite the bullet on a lot of stuff, even if you don't like it. One thing that's really changing is the employees. It's a new generation of employees, where we find the employees and what it takes to keep them.
Yeah, 15, 20 years ago, if a guy started complaining about a job he was on or something you asked him to do, you pretty much said, suck it up, buttercup, or get on down the road. And now you can't do that anymore. You actually have to pay attention to their complaints, because they will get up and go down the road. And the cost of acquiring a new employee to fill that position is astronomical. And if you haven't sat down and figured out what your cost is of hiring, hiring, and training a person to get them up to where they can run efficiently and be profitable in your truck, I mean, it is a mind-blowing number, and it really makes you rethink how you interact with your employees.
Yeah, and it's really changing what you have to offer. It's a lot different now than just bringing a guy in, tell him you'll slide him cash under the table, no benefits, no retirement, no uniforms, nothing. I mean, now to attract guys and keep guys, or women, tow operators, period, and office personnel, they want a retirement plan. They want benefits. They want, and you should supply them with high-vis uniforms, at least a vest. If you have an operator on the road without high visibility equipment on, shame on you. Nothing good will come out of that. So unfortunately, you got to bite the bullet and pay for that stuff, if you expect them to wear it.
See, I'm a firm believer that these guys, they're making sacrifices for the company. Their families are making sacrifices. We all know the stories about the missed dinners and the missed Christmases and all that. So the least you can do for these guys is do everything in your power to keep them safe. Make sure they've got that high vis clothing on. Great Christmas present idea. Nice winter jacket, brand new, bright, reflective winter jacket, whatever you want to do, but don't put it on them. If you put it on them, hey, I think that's wrong. You need to care about your workforce a lot more than that. But provide this stuff to them. They're going to be a lot more likely to wear it. They're going to be a lot more likely to stay safe. We have so many accidents, crashes, just terrible things happening to our operators right now. And do you really want to think to yourself after something bad happens, boy, if I had only bought a new vest, boy, if I had only repaired that strobe light bar so people could have seen them on the side of the road. Do you want to be that guy? Do you want that on you? No, you don't. So Stay with the program, stay on top of safety. Safety should be just priority number one within your company. If you're not safe, nothing else is going to go well with you.
Yeah, I don't think people understand what one accident can do to your business. I would say 90% of people in the industry, one major accident, heaven forbid, a fatality or a serious injury, it can bankrupt you.
So what'd you say earlier? 5 to 8%
Correct.
on profitability?
Yep.
So if you're running at 5 to 8%, can you really provide all that safety equipment for your employees? Can you run safe, maintained trucks? Can you keep tires on your truck? Can you keep good brakes on your truck? At 3 to 8%, you can't. And like you said, you're one accident away from probably being out of business, or one fuel spike away from being out of business. So one more reason to know your costs and charge accordingly.
Absolutely. Slow down, move over. That might be a whole nother episode, its whole standalone episode. But kind of looking forward on the format of the show and the frequency, etc. The plan is for this first season, 7 episodes. We'll kind of close out season 1 and preview season 2 with a live show from the Florida Tow Show. So check us out if you're there. It's a great show. If you can get down there, you should do it. Especially if you're from the north, get out of. It's a negative 6 degrees here in Ohio today. Negative 30, I think, with the wind chill, something stupid. So if nothing else, an excuse to go south.
What a great excuse to get out of that cold for a little while. And Florida being at a new venue this year, I think that'll really help the experience. Anybody who's been to Florida the past few years, boy, it has gotten just packed beyond belief out in that parking lot, and it's kind of hard to enjoy a few things out there. But hopefully, this new venue will help it become a whole new show.
Yeah, that's going to be a very cool experience for us, but just for the show in general, I think they got some new things planned. We're going to have some good guests on that show and talk about some different products and what's going on at the show and etc. But, this first season, we're going to talk about motor clubs. That should be a very well listened to show. A lot of people have some strong feelings on that, so we should get some good listeners on that. We're going to address the number one problem in the industry, which is finding and retaining employees. If you ask every company owner that has a decent business if they're hiring right now, and the answer is yes, everybody's hiring. Unemployment's low. There's not people walking through the door with a lot of experience. So how we address that. We're going to talk about insurance, which is a huge issue right now, especially depending on what state you're in, but just nationwide, it's an issue. We'll have some tips and have some guests try to help us steer us in the right direction on how we can tackle that. We'll have an episode on technology, dispatch softwares, in-truck equipment, reporting, the apps and motor clubs and kind of the future of that side of it. We'll have an episode on buying and selling equipment. If you need help, if you've never done it, if you maybe don't do it the right way, buying new versus used, selling your old stuff, trade, what's out there equipment wise, what's new, tips on financing, just everything on that. And social media marketing. It's our online presence and reputation is huge right now. That's how we get customers. Nobody has a phone book anymore. They hop on Google, and you've got to show up first. You got to have good ratings, and how you get to that point. We'll touch on that. The goals for each show to be 30 to 60 minutes, depending. Maybe we get long-winded and get really passionate about a few things, but that's the goal for now.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Florida show. If you're going to be down there, definitely it shouldn't be real hard to find us, and maybe you could stop by and give us your thoughts, help us out with some future episodes, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Another thing we're going to get into also, TV shows. There's plenty of towing TV shows out there these days. Are they helping or hurting the industry?
Well, I think a little bit of both. I do like the fact that the towing industry is getting some publicity and kind of giving an inside look of what our operators do every day and the situations they encounter. But I'll be honest, I don't watch a whole lot of it. I think the reason for that is the same reason my mom doesn't watch hospital shows. She's a nurse, and every time one comes on, she's like, "Oh, that's not true. That's not how it works." I think I'm kind of the same way on some of these shows. A lot of them are not real life portrayals of what we see every day. Some of them are. I used to really like Wrecked. I really like all the people up at O'Hare, but I thought that was a pretty good interpretation of situations that we see every day, what it's like in a family small business atmosphere, the conversations that you have and the issues that you deal with. Some of the shows are just so out there and ridiculous. Those are the ones that are hurting our reputation, kind of reaffirming the negative opinion that the public has of towing companies. I promise not every tow that you go out on is down a gravel road where you get chased with a shotgun and a dog pees on your tire. It's just not real life.
No.
So I don't know. A little bit of both. I wish they were a little more realistic. I really like Highway Through Hell and some of the situations they encounter that really display the skill and the knowledge that the operators have, to recover some of the tractor trailers and some of the larger vehicles.
Or just, especially being in the environment they're in up there, showing people some of the sacrifices our operators make, going out in the middle of the night in that weather, the vehicles sliding past them. I mean, it hopefully it's opening some eyes. I believe these shows are marketed towards non-towers, so hopefully it's serving as some sort of education for the public. Not a few of those others, with the like you said, being chased with shotguns on every tow and people jumping in cars and locking their doors or trying to yank their truck off a tow truck that's being repoed. I mean, I don't think any of that is doing any good for our industry.
Not at all. Not at all. That's a big problem with the industry, is fighting that negative reputation that we have due to some of the operations and companies from the past that have had a predatory attitude towards towing and not a big focus on customer experience and satisfaction and high levels of service. But we have to tackle it as a whole industry, and hopefully this show might help. Maybe it'll unify the industry a little bit, get everybody on the same page, and move us forward a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm hoping this gives everybody a pretty good idea what this is going to present to them, as far as we're really here to help provide good information to move the industry forward. Hopefully move towards some sort of national standards, where people can they have something to aspire to be, try to grow their business. You're not going to do that at that 5 to 8% profit. So we need to get everybody up there, but the service you provide has got to be worth what you're charging. If you're going to charge professional rates, you've got to be a professional. You've got to show up in a decent piece of equipment with a friendly operator getting out of that truck that truly wants to help the individual in need that's on the side of the road. They need to be polite. You need to be able to accept multiple forms of payment. Nobody carries cash anymore. And if you're still demanding cash on every call, I can't help but question your motives on why you're doing that. I don't think it reflects well. We are going to have guests on here. I believe we are going to have some of the best guests on this show that you could possibly get. We've already got some names in the hat. It's just a matter of arranging times and creating the content with them. But you're not going to be stuck just listening to Jeff and Brad every week. or every 2 weeks. This is going to be a bi-weekly show. It's going to be done on a seasonal format. And like Brad said earlier, that final show for this season will be at the Florida Tow Show. We also intend on being at a few other shows around the country this year, doing the same type of show. And we will definitely be at the Tow Summit in Washington, D.C. this year.
Yep, absolutely. Just again, thank you for listening. Thank you for liking and sharing us on social media. We've got over, I think, 1,500 follows on Instagram so far, which is huge. So please like this episode, share it, 5-star rating, all that good stuff, and get the word out. Next episode, February 17th, scheduled for February 17th, and the topic will be motor clubs. We'll dive in. I think we're going to have a very good guest lined up. It has some numbers, some very good data, and some strong opinions and feelings, I'm sure.
Yeah, from both sides. Motor club's always a hot button issue, and for every guy who claims they're destroying the industry, you've got another guy down the street saying that it's paying all his bills and he's doing great with it, loves it. So let's try to dig into those numbers and get to the bottom of that and figure out which way it's going. My guess is, depending on how you run your business and the environment you're in, I'm guessing it could go either way. I don't believe the motor clubs are quite as evil as some people make them out to be. I think it's a lot has to do with the contract you negotiate and sign.
Yeah, don't be the victim. Don't put your business in that situation if you don't like it. But what we're not going to do, we're not going to bash the motor clubs. We're not going to bash anybody. We're not going to bash other towing companies. We're not going to bash manufacturers, motor clubs, softwares, magazines, none of that. So we'll try to keep it positive, try to keep it informative, educational, hopefully. But I think that wraps us up for episode 1.
Sounds good. Thanks again, everybody.
Be safe. Thanks.